And we say good morning or good evening or wherever you are, greetings to you. This is the virtual Dalcroze meetup. My name is Stephen Neely, and I'm your co-host. I'm here with my dear friend and colleague Veronica Bileski. And this is meetup number 69, which is craziness. We've almost done 70 of these, and we keep having people show up, and we are just having a grand time building community internationally. So right now it's a smaller meetup than some have been, but we have a colleague in Japan and we have a colleague in Jamaica, and we have friends in Boston and Pittsburgh and Kwanting. I always think you're in one place, but I know you're not where I say. South Dakota. Yes.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Sioux Falls, that's it. So, and Kwanting is in South Dakota, which is like a very far place away from Pittsburgh, where I am. So, welcome to everybody. Before we get into our main content of the night, we have a couple announcements. Oh, well, we would normally do breakout rooms, but I think with such a small group, we should just make this the breakout room. So, our normal.
Could you make me a co-host so I can
yes,
record?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course. Normally, at the beginning of the meetup, we send everybody to a breakout room to introduce themselves to each other, just to just get a little bit of community. And we say, tell us your name, where are you from, or where are you located, and who do you teach, or who might you teach, or who do you hang out with? And so I'm Stephen Neely. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the United States. And I teach university students almost entirely, although I spent 20 some years working with high school students in the public schools. But my main community now are undergraduate music majors at Carnegie Mellon. I hand it over to Kwanting.
My name is Kwanting Chang. I currently are in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm teaching at a public elementary school, K through 5. Oh, I pass it to Teo.
Hi, I'm Teo. I'm currently in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at Carnegie Mellon studying Dalcroze Eurythmics, and I plan to teach teenagers. Passing to Veronica.
Namali, I got your message. I'll work on it. I'm Veronica. I live in the Boston area in the United States, and I teach flute and piano private lessons to kids as young as 4 and adults in their 80s. And then I teach Dalcroze group classes to early childhood all the way to preteen at this point. Sachiko.
Hey, this is quite new style to me in Zoom meeting. Okay, my name is Sachiko Muranaka, and I'm a new Eurythmics teacher. I'm currently teaching the Dalcroze, the early childhood module, expression, as well as body movement and music expression to students of the child psychology program at the university in Japan. Most students are amateurs when it comes to music. Of course, I'm living in Japan, Sapporo. I am the current president of the Jack Dalcroze Society of Japan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I?
Yes.
Pass.
Nomali.
Okay, yes. Hello. So my name is Namali Lumsden Campbell. I lecture at a teacher training institution, the Michael University College, in the music education department. I'm using Dalcroze primarily with some students I teach at a prep school. And I go from K to 6, but today I'll be sharing about K to grade 1.
Very good, thank you. And Alice, you just popped in. It's great to see you. We have a smaller group, so we didn't do breakout rooms tonight. We are just introducing ourselves. So if you're able and willing, you want to unmute and tell us where are you located, Alice?
Okay, everyone. I live in San Francisco, California, and I teach in Berkeley at a music school called Crowden. And I did teach in public school up until a couple of years ago. And I love particularly teaching young children. So I get to do 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5 and 6-year-olds at Crowden. And I hope there's some younger teachers that are coming along to teach there, because I find that the traveling is a lot now for me. Jessica Schaefer was there at one point and she did a great job. And so in fact, there's a meeting there and they've invited me to it. So I will have to depart at 7. But yeah, so I'm particularly interested in promoting Dalcroze through the public schools, but it's very hard to do that. It depends upon how motivated and, what should we say, clued up your administrators are.
Yep, the
And
administrators.
so now, yeah, the administrator now for the music department has no clue. Right?
Well, we
I mean,
all
he's a good guy.
we all get to have to be patient sometimes. It's great to have you.
That's right.
It's great to have everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It is meetup number 69, and we have just a couple announcements to get us going, and then we have 2 really great presenters, and we'll have some conversation. So we just want to remind everybody that we have upcoming meetups into June. So if you haven't subscribed to the calendar, please check it out and subscribe, and the meetups will appear in your calendar in the right time zone if you subscribe. And so you'll always know what's coming and you don't need to miss any. And then we want to let you know that there are 2 remaining master classes for this season. One is with Fumiko Handa Bauer, who is who I believe grew up in Japan and has been living in the States for the last many years. Her master class is April 27, 28. And Fumiko is a dear friend and a wonderful musician. And I believe her master class will be talking with us about work that she does with younger children. And so we're really excited to feature her and to get to learn from Fumiko. And then in June 15 or 16, depending on where you are in the world, Temé Genai Deveau is a holds the Diplôme Supérieur from Geneva, Switzerland, is a young teacher grew up in Geneva. And so I had a chance to meet her at the Congress at the Institut Jacques Dalcroze this last summer, and she was very dynamic and really exciting. And so we're thrilled to feature her in June. And I think that's most. Veronica, did I miss anything? I think we're good. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Then would you like to introduce our guests tonight?
Absolutely. So, Nomali did a presentation for the VDM last December, I think, and we just we're so excited what you had to share, Nomali, and so we asked her to share a little bit about her teaching and how she's been applying Dalcroze, what she's learned kind of through the VDM and been able to pick up and understand, and how she's applying that to her context. And then we also knew that Quanting is doing a similar thing with kind of a similar age group, and so we asked them both to share. And Nomali was asked me to be her presenter because she had some issues with her computer. So I'm going to share Nomali's slides. And Nomali and Quanting, if we could just have you each talk for about 5 to 7 minutes and do your presentation, and then we can have a discussion. And then at the end, I believe Nomali might also have a Jamaican folk song to teach us. So we'll save that for the last few minutes. So Nomali, are you ready for me to share your presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm presenting from my phone, so it's a little strange.
Let's see if I can get this slideshow. All right, can you guys see that? Okay.
You can just go down. Okay. So I'm actually still in this exact room right now. I'm waiting on my husband to come and pick me up. And so this is some of the group. The person who took the picture is a special needs person. He didn't take a really good picture, so you're not seeing the whole group, but this is some of them. And if you zoom in a little, you'll see them doing some little poses. And to the side, you'll also see some steel pans. So this is a group of K1, K2s, K3s. I think there might be some grade 1 students in there. It's about 15 of them, and we meet every Tuesday for an hour. They do drumming, they do some movement to music, and they do steel pan and some singing. All right, so they're the group I've been exploring the most with Dalcroze. So I just love to share a little bit about that. So you can go ahead, Veronica. Okay, so some stuff I've been doing with them is because we start off with some drumming exercises. They come in, they're very excited, and I start off with some drumming exercises, and we do some body movement, but it's timed. It's timed movement, so they're stretching to counts like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, and then they put in the drum. So they do the drum on the strong beat, so they'll be going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? So they're doing that to really internalize these different durations, and at the same time just get some of the energy out of their bodies. We also do a partner game, which I was actually exposed to by Anthony Molinaro in his Gamifying the Curriculum course, where I'm playing for them on the piano or the tambourine, and they are moving. And then when they hear different times, if they hear 2 times, they do a hand clap pattern in 2s, or they do a pattern in 3s. They do lap, clap, head, lap, clap, head. And it's really fun because they do it in pairs. So the social aspect of it, they love, of course. I have some problems because some little ones like my son, they just want to run around wildly and bounce each other. So, you know, that has been a little difficult, but we're working with it. So that was one thing I've been doing. Feeling the silence is the other thing. In the picture, if you look closely, you'll see some of the kids just posing. So I teach them the Rasta rhythm, which I taught you all last time, and it goes, the utterance pattern for it is Rasta, tippy, Rasta, chin, Rasta. Can you hear the drum? Can you hear my drum? Yeah? So I know you probably can't see it, but brings up a little bit. So they're playing the basic, and then they do variations on it. They do Rasta, tippy, Rasta, clap. But before they do the clap, they do a pose. And so in that way, they're feeling the silence. So Rasta, tippy, tippy, Rasta, Rasta, and they feel the silence. And then we also do extended silence by doing listening to silence and stillness in the beginning, which is, I don't think that's Dalcrozian, but that's something we always do. And extended silence by practicing balancing. So when they're moving around the space and we do the hand clap patterns to different meters, they also, at a point, they have to get really still and just practice balancing. And of course, that forces them to kind of just silence their mind, silence their bodies, and feel an extended period of silence, you know? So that's always nice. And their balancing has really improved. Some of them really couldn't balance for 5 seconds. I know they're going up to 30. So that's nice. Okay, you can go to the next slide, Veronica. I'm also exploring with them tonic dominant relationships versus other smaller intervals, mainly the second, right? So in Jamaica, we don't explore pitch as much, and solfege and that sort of thing is not really common for us to do in classrooms in Jamaica, to tell the truth. So this is a little novel for them. I mean, everyone knows about it, but we don't actually use it. We do a lot of singing and rhythm, but not teaching solfege. So this is nice. I've been teaching them solfege, and especially the do and the so. And so when they're doing do, re, they're to feel it as a neck bend. And when they do do, so, they're to feel it as a flower blooming. So they do it, and then I sing it for them, and they have to guess which one I'm doing. And of course, they're just looking at each other. But I see them, having done this with them for like this whole term, I see their ears little by little opening until I see that they're really getting it. We also play So Simon Says. which is just basically if I give any instruction using a fifth, then they must follow the command. But if not, they're not to do it. So if I say, Simon says, touch your nose. Simon says, touch your toes. Simon says, turn around. They're not to do it. And I mean, at first they were so bad at the game. They're like, oh, we don't want to play. We're not getting it. And now they've got it they're so good at it now. And so it's been nice to see that I actually see their ears really opening to hear.
Oh no. I think she disappeared. She just disappeared like that. That was so fast. Well, we'll see if she comes back. That was so abrupt. It was like her computer died or something. Like,
Yeah.
um,
I don't know how to return on slides, so.
all right. Well, I think it's gonna probably take a minute for her to come back if she can come back. She was off to such a good start. There's already so many nice things in there. I think maybe we should just move to Quanting. And then if she comes back, after Quanting's done, we'll have her finish.
Yeah, so perhaps where was she from?
Jamaica.
Where was she? Jamaica. Okay,
Yeah,
so perhaps
she's
who
in
knows?
Jamaica, and she led a wonderful little meetup presentation back in December. You all should go to the archives and find it. It's really fun, and she's really wonderful. So hopefully she'll figure out what happened there, and we'll get to see her again. Quanting, would you like to tell us a little bit about what's going on in South Dakota? Is it snowy there right now?
No, but in the weekend we will get some snow, surprisingly, because last week it was up to like 70, 80s, and in the weekend it's going to snow again, which I guess we can bring back. I was following Anthony Molinaro's post, and then she had a wonderful activity about snowman and snowball fight. All my kindergartner loved it, and that's like almost all my kindergartner can handle that exercise because it was so much fun.
Can
So
you
that
tell
also
us
make
about it? Can you tell us what the exercise was?
So his exercise, it's basically in the beginning you talk about, I forget the beginning because I talked a couple weeks ago, but one of them is like, okay, so what do you do in the snow? And then one of them like say build snowman. So the snowman is your snowman, snowman, snowman. And there's you can ask kids what they do in the snow, and there's a snow angel, snow angel, snow angel, snow angel. And then if you hear, oh, there's a snow, and then you just, if I remember correctly, we just walk. So you can either just have play on the piano or on the drum or whatever. It will be snow, 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 man, snow, man, snow angel, snow angel. In the beginning, like think you can have, I did follow his guideline, and then when they hear snow angel, when I play snow angel, which is a triplet, they just lay down on the ground and do snow angel, snow angel. And then if they hear divided in two, it will be a snowman, snowman. And if it's snow, they just walk. And then like after they are familiar with all those three different subdivisions, we adding like the snow fight. Anyway, I'm not sure if this is clear, but then I can show you. I'm not sure if that one is public, but it's in his post. Like he did this like building a snowball, snowball, throw and throw. So it's a pattern like bum 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 da run. And it's just the music really leads this exercise because the kids can follow. Even if I didn't tell them what it is, okay, let's try snowball. Let's build snowball together. And once I did something ascending, da da on the piano, they just throw it. I'm like, great. So, and they have to stay at the end, they have to stay in the hula loops. So everybody get one hoop. Basically, I asked them to do like tiptoe. So it's almost like I try to play a 16th. Like he didn't say if it's 16 or not, but I try to do like da 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 da. So they scamper around the room, and we have to practice scamper. So kids don't like bump into each other or run into each other. Scamper, 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 scamper. I believe in his track he used the augmented 6 to signal the cadence. When you hear the cadence, the kids has to get into the hula hoop, and then they start to like building snowballs. and throw, and you turn. And then eventually one of the thing that he did at the end is that you just did the beginning, like bum, 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 and see if they can keep the musical ideas and then throw at the right timing and stuff. And at the end, you can just play like scamper, 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 going back to tonic, they go back to their hoop, and you just play one chord. See if they can find the snowball making and the throw by themselves. I'm not sure if I explained it well, but
We love Anthony, and he will be back and back. And if anyone hasn't signed up for Anthony, the course that Quantin was describing, we'd encourage everybody to sign up for that masterclass, that short course. He did some great work there. So Quantin, was that the event you were going to describe today, or did you have other things that you were going to talk about?
I mean, I think I have more questions, but I'm just saying that once this year with kindergartner, because I used to do 7 jumps, like the song with them, and then I noticed that some of the kids, they can actually hear the cadence. And I'm just glad that I found Dalcroze, because if I were have them to describe or using other way to have my kindergartner to tell me what they know, they wouldn't be able to tell it. But a lot of kids, the first time we did the 7 jump, it's an Australian track, and then they have like a very clear cadence, and they can, most of them, half of them can just slow down and then they stop for me, which is, I feel like magical, just seeing them like, wow, it's the first time and they already knew what's going on. And and I guess I was adapting one of the Rizzo's body fitch, like solfege using the body, basically different body part to teach solfege. And I mean, I guess I was trying to look for ways for more like a opportunity for partner. So like I think I just use, so like I teach the fifths, and I think Naomi just suggested a very good way to play with the fifths too. But what I did is like I start with the sol and do, and then I will play either sol, do, or play a pattern, and they are getting used to just like be able to kind of identify. So for example, if I play so do on the piano, they can just tell me it's so do, and they can show me. Some of them are able to sing it, some of them are able to do it, sing it, and showing me. But most of them can show me even if they don't know how to sing it, which I think is magical. But I just like, I guess one of my wonder is that if there's any other way I can put solfege into more like partner work. Because like now I mean with Rizzo's way, it's supposed, I think his sequence will be so, so, la, mi, gradually adding each note. But then since only the sol is kind of like a partner work, I'm just wondering, I started with so, do, and then I do la, sol, and then I do sol, mi, to make sure that each note, like they can kind of have a partner to work on. But I guess I don't know if anyone had good ideas about how to do more partner work with solfege. Yay, she's back.
Hi, Nomali. It's so good to see you back. You disappeared so fast.
Yes, no problem. I'm sure you've gone ahead with the other presenter. So I can finish up after.
Okay. So, Quanting, are we going to save to answer those questions or to brainstorm ideas about partnering with solfege for the discussion? Or did you have more that you wanted to share now?
I think it's good, and maybe Nomali already have some solution for me, so
Yeah, right.
we can hear her out.
All right. Well, maybe
But she didn't hear your presentation, so she
We'll
might
have
not
to-
know.
we'll have to describe it again. But I think some of Nomali's, what Nomali was presenting was actually similar to what Quantin was looking for. So, so Veronica, shall we try to find the share screen again? And Nomali, we had just finished up with Quanting, which we will explain after your bit finishes. So we'll try to find the presentation again. There it is. All right.
No, Molly, did you want me to go back to the other slide?
You could, yes.
Okay. It's not very good at, it's not like going back, so I have to go back this way.
All
Not
right.
too long. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I've really just been sharing with you some of the things I have been exploring in my classroom based on what I have been exposed to through my association with you all and the courses I have done. So I did speak about Sodo, and I think the Simon Says is a variation of a game again from the Anthony Molinaro course. You can move on from that. It's just fabulous to see that, as I said, their ears really opening up to appreciate it as little kids. And you can move on, Veronica. And then we've been doing some body mapping with Chariots of Fire. When I started working with the group, I used to use Chariots of Fire just to help them use their bodies and sort of just get into a sort of reflective state, which I think children nowadays are finding very difficult to do. And but I realized, going back to it again, about it opens with fifths. So it is reinforcing what I've been doing in terms of just introducing them to that basic skeletal of the fifths. And so it's beautiful. They love it. It opens with fifths. It uses a simple binary form. It has many repeated phrases, has a beautiful melody. And it's reflective, and it allows for good controlled movement. And again, it allows them to practice their balancing. So that's something else I have been doing with them. So, that's really the end of my presentation. It has been just a joy, and I'm looking forward to learning more about Dalcroze and what it can do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Namali, and thank you, Kwanting, and for everyone who's here. The part of the idea of the virtual Dalcroze meetup is that we are trying to just help anybody who has any interest at all in these games and these techniques and these traditions feel as though they are accessible. While we love it when our friends earn the Dalcroze certificate or study, are able to travel to study and what have you, it isn't in any way a requirement. And no one needs to, carry a special, wear a special hat or have a special badge. These ideas and these games are available to everyone. And we encourage everyone to experiment with them and then combine them with the other games and songs and traditions that you grew up with, and to start to just feel free enough to try things out and then come back and tell us how it went and get some new ideas. So I'm so happy to have Kwanting and Namali here, who are both just trying to figure ideas out, like so many of us have spent it feels like lifetimes failing and winning and trying and fighting and succeeding and all of that in our different classrooms. So there were a couple things in there. I'm just thinking, so the way we go now is I'll just invite Alice and Sachiko and everybody else who's here. If you have ideas or questions or comments, by all means, raise your hand or unmute. The one thing, Nomali, actually, you had all sorts of things in there that we could talk about. The one little one, oh no, did we lose her again? I think we did. That's terrible. Well,
Is she there?
no, she disappeared again. I wonder if, well, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe I have no idea. It could be a battery thing or a internet thing, or maybe it's Jamaica. I just have no idea. I was going to say that the game where she taught them a pattern on the drum, which she actually had showed that pattern to us back in December. Everyone knew this pattern in her class, and then she was taking moments of the pattern to remove the hit and replace it with silence. And then I believe her model was a pose that also happened to be silent. And so that's a classic Dalcroze interaction that many schools
Do you want to just give an example? Stephen, if you could, an example. She gave the rhythmic pattern, and then what did they do after that? I'm not
Yeah, so
familiar. I can't.
I think that the pattern was a tap tap tiki tiki da da ta, tap tap tiki tiki da da ta was the basic rhythm of it, and she had a certain sort of way to hit that on the drum. And then in place of the very last note, the long note, I think that what she just presented to us was that she had her students, instead of hit the last note, instead strike a pose in the room, and so they could choose
Oh,
their own gesture, their own pose, and it's doubly interesting because it's a silent pose, and so it didn't have an actual sounded hit. So they have to feel the moment rather than merely hit the moment. Which when talking with my students, we talk about that as a kind of a deeper experience. It's an inner kind of understanding rather than always being outer or external. And so to me, that reads as kind of a double. And that basic strategy of take something out and replace it with something else, depending on what Dalcroze camp you're hanging out with, we call that a replacement. And replacement games, of course, have been part of music education for a very long time, and lots of traditions use them. But it's one primary game that you could grab almost any Dalcroze interaction and then think, oh, maybe we'll add a replacement in here. Everybody already kind of knew what the actions were. Let's take one of the actions out and replace it with either a different action, or with a bit of singing, or with a different kind of rhythm, or with a different note, or with a partnering, or in this case, with a pose in silence. And so what's really fun about the basic technique is that you can replace anything with anything. There isn't just one way to enact a replacement in a game. And in fact, a very common way is to ask the students, once they understand what the game is, oh, I suggested that in place of the last note, we do a pose. Who has another idea? And now you can offer it to the classroom, and maybe between the students, we can come up with a different way that we might treat that particular place in time. And then I could call it.
and are they performing that rhythm that one and at the are they performing it at the same time?
I think the way Nomali set up that exercise, yes. I think that there's a recurring pattern that everyone's playing on the drum, and then whenever she makes the cue, they know, oh, in place of the last note, we'll make a pose, and then they're probably right back to playing the drum again, and maybe another pose. And then what is sort of the exciting part of a Dalcroze pedagogy is that we have that nugget, that beginning of an exercise. We've got a little rhythm that we all play together. Now we've extended it by changing the last note, replacing it with a pose. And now we could think, well, now what would be next? And there doesn't have to be only one answer to that. There would be all sorts of ways we could evolve the exercise. And so we could turn it into a quick reaction that we could throw different cues out. We could find ways to work with partners, to be aware of the big group, to be aware of just our neighbors, replace it with something else. Now the question and what makes it exciting is how could we evolve that basic pattern that we all agreed on. So that was the first one that just was making me think about what we saw tonight. Anyone else have something else that, we're definitely going to talk about Quanting's solfège prompt here, but Quanting, I think you have a hand up.
Yeah, I want to add out to that. So I think I matched two people's saying about, so I'm supposed to teach quarter rest. So it was, I guess, okay, I'll explain the exercise first and I'll ask my question about this replacement, because the pattern will be on your left, step, and then we step, and then we, which one, and I'll ask my student, which one do I replace? Step, then we, step, then we. And then they will do it with me, and then we talk about replace, and then try to replace it in step, and we, step, and we. And then basically place, and then the last one will be step, and then step, and then eventually they'll walk it. I'll play on the drum first and then ask them which one I did. They have to do it first. And then it's in four. This is Anthony's idea about spider drum in 4 different places. And they hear it from the drum, and I realized that on the drum and on the piano is two very different things for them. But then after they get that, I will ask them to walk it, and then eventually we try to put it on the board. And this is Anthony's idea. Step and then we, so they can point, step, and if you want to mute it, you put it up. So step and we, step and then have the kids do it. I feel this way they can examine the like study beat. I think that's, for me, I feel like it's a brilliant idea to teach a rest. Now, my question, it's like for me, because I mean, I know a lot of teachers when they do rest, they will be, for example, shh. And then I just feel like the rest should be no movement. Like it should be and go. I mean, I don't know if, I mean, so when my student walk at it, I try to tell them that, okay, like just like posing, you're posing like a picture, but you have to pose right before you take a picture and then you go. But I guess I'm just in my head, I'm debating about, but then I kind of have to prep for my next beat though. So even so I'm purposefully stopping and we step. I mean, I'm just trying to get them to feel like how long it is in there, like replace it with the pause. I mean, I'm not sure if I did it correctly. I guess
No, I
that's
think
my
you-
question.
I think it's clear. And the question is, what are the different ways we could treat if it's to be a rest? What are the different ways we could perform a rest? Is that
Yes.
one of the things
Yeah,
you're
it's,
asking?
yeah.
Okay, I
And
have
also I'm
opinions.
doing it correctly.
I have opinions, but I'll let someone else answer. Veronica or Sachiko or Alice, does anybody? What do you, if you were to play this game, step and then and we wanted to do a replacement on beat 2, and the replacement is rest, how would you, what do you, what are options? What are things we could do on beat 2? One option is freeze.
My internet connection is unstable, so I missed some of that, but it just gave me a little clue.
Uh,
But I like that idea of, because silence is something that, children, particularly when I have students that are just doing piano and they really don't get it. They don't understand that a rest is really a felt beat, a felt pulse. So that's fantastic that you bring them along to experience that it's, with a statue or a pose or some kind of gesture. That's great. I like that. I'm still working. I have very young children who come basically for one semester. Oh, there she is.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll just give this little example of, one of the things that I'm sure that other people have done is Pop Goes the Weasel using hula hoops. And so they pop out of the hula hoop on the word pop, and then they skip around to the music, and then they have to find a hula hoop to pop back in for the next verse. But I find that my children are much better at timing their jumps because they're 3 and 4 years old. If I do a little preparatory exercise, which I saw Jacqueline Van, is her name a concept to anyone here? She
Yep.
teaches in London,
Yep.
or did teach, and she did one where everyone just had to be ready to clap on the word clap. And so she had a very long sentence. Can you please be sure you're ready to clap? In fact, I'll come to the video. She said, can you, I'll do it again. Can you please be sure you're ready to clap? And then please be sure you're ready to clap. Ready to clap. And then just showing them, can they do it without any advanced notice? And they get really good at that, even at the age of 3. And then when it comes to doing Pop Goes the Weasel or any other song where they jump in and jump out of a hoop, they get really much more alert as to the moment of that particular beat. So that's just one thing I resurrected out of some old notes from Jacqueline's class
That's great.
that I saw.
That's great. And Jacqueline Van, I mean, is a major figure, a very famous Dalcroze teacher in England. And so many of the current teachers cite her as, one of their biggest influences.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Thank you for
And
that.
she also studied in Geneva with Eureka Richmond. I don't know if you know her. She's a Dalcroze teacher at the Conservatory of Music in San Francisco. So they're, and who's also excellent.
Very
So,
good.
but we need more we need more students. We don't have any training program here on the West Coast. So
Okay.
if any of you want to come out, please do.
Let's talk a little bit more about options for if we want to replace beat 2 of Quanting's simple pattern with silence. What are the different ways we might enact that? Veronica, I see you're unmuted.
Unstable connection here.
Said it again.
Yeah.
Alice mentioned that her piano students just like don't have that sense of the movement and the space, and Quanting, when you're working like in kind of a more eurythmic setting, you're already like moving the beat a lot. And so there it makes sense that maybe just freezing would be really useful for your students. I find that for some of my private students, they need to do something on the rest because they need to experience first filling that beat with something. And then I make it like, okay, I think you're ready to be the more advanced level. Can you just make your shh like really quiet? Like, and then like the super advanced level is, can you be totally silent and hear it in your head, right? Because then we're getting towards that internalized experience. So I just, like, if the student needs to do something because they're skipping the rest or it's too short, then I have them do a movement or make a sound because they just need to express something and they need my support expressing it. But then you're right, the more advanced thing is to be silent or to freeze.
Very nice. Yeah, I think my general instincts are to rarely freeze. My students, like I rarely ask my students to actually lock up, especially if the thing we're performing is a sort of felt motion. And I do believe generally that the rest that you're demonstrating, there is motion in there. It's just not sounded motion. It's felt motion. It's only felt rather than felt and sounded. And so I think my default would be to let all 4 beats have a bit of sound as I was playing whatever the words were, walk and something, whatever those 4 words were. Let there be a little bit of sound, or maybe even a little more sound, possibly, and then just make sure that they still show the motion, but not let it make sound. It would be my default, I think, rather than the freeze. Although I will definitely say there's nothing wrong with freezing. It's not like a bad choice in any way. It's a choice. But I think my training or the way that I think of it is the rest, I still want it to be felt as happening. There's still some kind of motion in there. It's just not a noisy motion or a sounded motion. It's a silent motion as opposed to a motion with sound. And so trying to get those two. Anthony, what you demonstrated as Anthony's chalkboard version, they still gestured the higher note. And so they didn't freeze and do nothing on that higher note. They said, I do the thing, and then the one that's higher is the one that I'm not going to say the word. And then it was back down. So I think that's consistent with kind of what I'm describing. So I'd be looking for other things we could do to replace beat 2. So one would be freeze, and it's a great one. I would make it one of a set, like, oh, let's do the freezing version of replacement, whatever you tell the kids it's called. And now let's do the one where we close our eyes, or let's do the one where we flick our hands, or let's do the one where we put our hands in front of our face in place of it, or let's do the one where we pretend to sneeze. And like, I don't know, something silly in place of that beat 2. And now let's move it to beat 3 and do beat 4. So the idea is that I'm going to fill it with something, and some of the things I fill it with are noisy or sung or music, and some of the things are just my silent feel. And I think a gesture is easier to feel than a silence. Hey, Alice, your hands up.
Okay, yeah, two things in in what you both said, which is so stimulating. I do remember Herb Henke taking flashcards of just beat 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is more visual rather than felt, but people like it because it's fun. You get 4 children up to the front of the class to hold up their cards. And then you have beat 4, the person turns around. So you can't see their face and you probably can't see their beat. And then they just go along the children, 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing. And then you change it. That person turns back, and then beat 3, person turns around. you can't see them. So you have to go 1, 2, 4. And then just as a matter of interest, I remember Elizabeth van der Spar, who I saw very early on in my Dalcroze interest, didn't like to use the word freeze because she thought for some children, they actually seize up or freeze. And so she preferred to use the word hold. And I think that's kind of nice because holding is more active than freezing, or it's, more of a gesture. So although I know the children love the word freeze, they play lots of freeze games, so it makes it like a game when you say that. But I try whenever I can to say hold rather than freeze. I thought that was interesting because there are children who respond differently.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Alice. Alice has all the big names tonight. So Herb Henke, if
Yeah.
you didn't get a chance to meet Herb, who passed away a number of years ago, he was one of our dearest, most beloved teachers here in the States. And he was famous for his kind of playing card games. And so he had like poker cards, the basic card deck cards, and he had a very large set where the cards were all like, I don't know, 10 inches tall or something, really big ones. And so what Alice is describing with the cards is that he would hand out the numbers, ace, 2, 3, and 4 to 4 students who would hold the big card in front of everybody at the front of the class. And then they would be the notes that we were naming. And then this idea of turn your back, or it could also be turn the card over or hide the card behind your back.
Yeah.
Any version of that would be a version of, a way of marking it. But we would still maybe point at that student, but because their card isn't showing, we wouldn't maybe make sound with that student. So again, the difference between freezing and still moving, but not moving with sound as a way to get to the rest.
Thank you. That was good elaboration of what he did. Yeah, I wish I got to see him more, but at the wonderful summer school at Carnegie Mellon is where I got to experience his teaching, which is amazing.
Herb was just the best. So I think Nomali's back with us again. Nomali, I'm sorry it's been that your internet connection has been so tricky.
Yes, I'm sorry. And just when you're asking me something, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, well, we were just pointing out, and then actually it became the point of this whole last conversation, that in your ta ta tiki tiki ta take a pose, that pose choice is a version of what in a lot of Dalcroze pedagogy circles we'll call a replacement. And you can replace that moment with a pose and silence, but you could also replace it with a cheer, or you could replace it with a note, or you could replace it with a turn your back to your neighbor, or you could replace it with, and the idea in so much of our teaching is that it's really exciting to think of all the different things we could replace it with. Not only one idea, but I came up with an idea. Now it's the students' turn to come up with an idea. What else could we do on that last note? And then what if we put the last note back in, but now we're going to replace the tiki tiki. Maybe the tiki tiki is the thing we take out, and we replace that with something else. And so it would be tut tut something, tut tut pow, tut tut, maybe stretch my arms apart, and then back to the drum, tut tut tut. And so the idea of the replacement is a really common sort of set of games or set of techniques that Dalcroze, of course, did not invent, but is one that we use regularly. It's an easy one to grab, and what's really exciting about it is that there can be so many variations, limitless variations. So when you were just
No, yes, I'm agreeing. I'm saying, and it would encourage creativity and improvisation and
Yep. So we're
yes, that's lovely.
It's lovely. We're getting close to the end of our time. I don't know if anyone else has anything they want to offer up, or either to comment about either. Well, we didn't talk about Kwanting solfège, so we should probably try to do that.
Go
ahead.
I have a little idea for Kwanting.
Thank goodness.
More like a modification of something I just did tonight. So you can have kids sitting in a circle, and you want to have them each face a partner. So they're sitting in a circle but facing a partner. And so you need an even number of kids. So either you are in the circle to make it even, or you take yourself out to make it even.
And can I
And
ask,
then they
are
would-
these two concentric circles when you say
No, no, no. So it's one circle, but then they've turned to a partner and they're facing their partner.
face to
And
face,
then you
back to
can
back, face to face?
Yes, yeah. So their backs are to each other. And then you can be doing like maybe sol do, and you have some kind of gesture, but then you give them a signal like ding, and they spin around 180 degrees. So now they have another partner.
Oh,
And they
I love that.
love doing that so much. You can use that for all sorts of games, but it just allows you to maybe practice another interval. Like,
Do they both sing so do, or is one singing so and the other one singing do?
I think together and making some gesture is what I'm imagining. I haven't actually
Oh.
tried this. I'm just modifying like a partner switch situation, right? So if maybe our so do is that we do this with our partner, then when we turn around with our other partner, we might go me, or maybe me do, and we tap hands me do, and we've practiced now 2 different intervals, and we have like our so do partner and our me do partner, and you can increase the excitement by getting them to switch back and forth faster, and they love it, and like they can get good at like being on time, you know. But when you make fast switches, all of a sudden you just get a lot of giggling. But like some kids will be like, no, we're supposed to be with this one, like, and like they will help each other because like some of them will just miss the change, you know, but you'll have enough of critical mass to kind of get the partners organized. And so you can put in anything in there. Like I was practicing 2-time versus 3-time with them today. Or just 1 3-time song, but you switch at every phrase, and it's just exciting because you have to find a new partner and like match with someone else.
I think I did a similar thing, and then I skip a step, which I put it as a following game, which is not successful. So do and so me, I didn't give them a cue, and they're like, "What?" And then I ended up realizing, yes, I need to make it a quick reaction first before they can hear the different intervals. Yeah, but I mean, I did try that, but then I guess my thing is that the only thing they kind of like do it with each other is my soul. So I couldn't, I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like soul can be here, but then the rest of them, I don't know if I should just adding another point that have like a partner contact somehow
Well,
or not.
that's-
I don't know.
I love that. That's a clear
oh,
difference.
I don't know.
That's a great idea.
Of course, in Kodai, that is the so is here, and then the fists are do.
So and don't, yeah.
You always tell them it's not because you're angry or you want to fight, it's just you're strong. So
Strong dog,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly, strong do for, but so that works. Or anything. You can have them do that for so and then clap for me, or yeah, whatever. Just something easy that they
So we're
particularly don't get a lot of
pretty-
music.
Very good. We're pretty much at time, but just to understand, so Veronica's game is lovely and isn't the same thing as, I think that Quanting, you have a picture in mind of you're just trying to teach them the certain pitches, and whenever they get to whatever a pitch, you have a sort of a choreographed thing, and it'd be nice if there was more partnering. Is that right?
It's like interval, like how Veronica described it. So I have a solo with one partner, so me, another partner, and then so la. So it's, I guess, I think I am with Veronica's, I'm teaching the interval instead of single notes.
Got it. Yeah, so
Is that what you're asking?
the circle game that Veronica described, can be used in so many ways. You could take exactly what you're doing and just decide we're going to do it today in a circle, and we have a partner, and then on a cue have another partner, and then on a different cue everybody turn toward the center of the circle, and then on a different cue everybody turn your back to the circle, and now we're back to, and then maybe go back to the first cue and you're back to your original partner. So I mean there's so many variations on that you can do. And then with if you were just, I think that what I'm still trying to understand the original exercise that you were describing. You were having them sort of show the different pitches in space. Was that it? And it's just that soul, you had decided, needed a high five with their neighbors. Was that the deal? So
So it's
maybe
so no, like that. That's
yeah.
PSI.
So if Soul
think
was the only one that they had a partner with, maybe there's other ways to interact. So are you saying what are other ways we could interact? And so a high five, two hands is one, but you can bump an elbow, you can just stand back to back is a kind of partnering. So maybe you grab, one of your pitches, Soul is two hands high, but maybe a different pitch is elbow to elbow or back to back, or like make a weird face at your neighbor or turn your back to your neighbor. There's lots of just any kind of noticing the other person. You don't always have to touch to be partnered. You sometimes can just sort of be aware of them or make it intentional. Veronica, I think you had a hand up, and then we probably should end for tonight. We're running over.
I'm actually good.
But that, I guess, can I ask one last question about like, is it for me, because I'm fixed doll person, I always do solo with solo, and then just like struggling because solo is not necessarily good for kids to sing because it's low. And I mean, I have been struggling, it's just like personally struggling in my head. Like, can I do
I don't
five?
think it's that low. I think they can sing Sodo. I think it's fine.
I agree. And just for anybody else who maybe is going to watch this video after, Kwanting comes out of a fixed do tradition, as do many Dalcrozians, but it isn't the only way. And generally, I think internationally, most all Dalcrozians have some version of movable do, whether they use the actual sol do syllables, or they're using numbers, or they're using something. So you could also, if you wanted a different key Kwanting, you could teach them, if your curriculum permits, 5-1, or there would be other things you could say that would get you into, if you thought there was a more comfortable key for your students. And then, of course, many schools, especially in the States, work on movable do. And so sol do can be any key that they want it to be. So you have options. Well, brainstorming exercises is about as fun. Honestly, this is what we do here, friends. We are the crowd who's quite excited to sit and brainstorm solutions and brainstorm exercises and think of variations on the different games. So Veronica, we should actually make that the point of some of these meetups. That should be a regular one. It's just like,
that could be a presentation. Bring your thorny problems.
bring your thorny problems, and we're just
We'll-
going to brainstorm variations. I think that's a really easy one for us, that we can do. Well, everybody, Sachiko and Kwanting, and Nomali and Teo and Veronica, thank you everybody for being here and for just being part of the conversation. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the calendar so you can know when the next meetups are. If you haven't yet, consider signing up for the upcoming masterclasses or registering for any of the past masterclasses. They've all really been quite good. We're very proud of our masterclass collection, and we look forward to seeing everybody again in a couple weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.